Hello, amateurs. Welcome to another episode of the Amateur Rugby Podcast, here to help soothe your Sunday morning hangover with some wonderful rugby chat about the grassroots of the game. I'm your host, Tim, and I've got another amazing guest for you today. This man plays for Heath RUFC up in Yorkshire. He's played over 300 first 15 games and captained the club, and he's played for Yorkshire, and he even finds time to be junior chairman as well. Please welcome Mr. Chris Moore. Chris, how you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
Very well. Welcome to the show. Now, let's get into it and start talking about Heath RUFC straight away. Tell me about some of the things you've achieved in the last couple of years to start off with.
Well, in the last few years, we've been promoted from Yorkshire 1. I think that was 2018-19. We then moved up straight away, just after COVID, up to level 6. So I went from level 7 to level 6, and then a couple of years later, we went straight up then to level 5. So we got promoted like 2 years in a row. We then in 24, we won, or 23, we got to the semi-final of the that Papa John's Cup. We ended up down in Havant. I think that's how we pronounce it properly. It was a bit of a long journey down, but we got to the semi-finals there, and we just lost that game, which was actually really a good experience for us because we'd never been in that position before. We'd never left, Yorkshire, to be honest. So as a club and as a team, it was a brilliant event, and we learned a lot from it. And then we bounced back the year after in the same cup, and we won it at Twickenham against Barnstable, which was mighty as well. I mean, we won it in a very in a very good way as well. We laugh played a game, try in the corner after multiple phases and retaining the ball for quite a long time. So kind of like a Welsh, Six Nations comeback, So we went from, we beat Barnstable in the final. We went from there, and we finished in like the top 2, 3 in at level 5 over the last 4 years, which has been really good. And then we also won the Papa John's place at Worcester Warriors last year, which was brilliant. So we've gathered quite a lot of silverware. We've achieved quite a lot in the last few years. We've got a lot of new coaches coming in and new players, and we still have the core element of the team that was there like back in 2010-11. I think we have like 12, 13 players that are still, playing week in, week out that were playing back then, including myself, which is fantastic. I think we're doing quite well this year as well. We're 14 out of 14, unbeaten so far. So we're really pushing for that top 3 position again. That's kind of been our story over the last few years, and our second team as well, like our Hawks. They're doing amazing. They're in a very competitive second team league, and they're top of that league as well. They've only lost 1 game this season. So overall, both teams are, just really competitive over the last few years.
Wonderful stuff, Chris. Now, we're going to get into some of the detail about the club culture and how you run things there. But before we do that, I want to go back to that day down at Havant, because it sounds like that was a bit of a pivotal day almost. Can you tell me a bit more about the excitement that you felt and going on a journey like that? Describe a little bit more about it for me.
Yeah, it was all new to us. So we'd never travelled that distance before. I think that the furthest we went at that stage was probably up to Alnwick, or up north, which totally different place. And we were quite excited. We were quite nervous. We were having quite a good season that year. So I think we did like fancy ourselves to win this game. We'd done a lot of reviews of Havant and how they played and their style of rugby, and we thought we got enough information to be able to put in a performance to win the game. We stopped at a like a Premier Inn, I think that's what it was. On the way down, which because it was booked quite last minute, it wasn't the best, and the rooms were were shared between. I think it was three men a room, and there was lads that there's so many lads that just can't sleep outside of their own room, and they've got their own routines. And there's lads like myself that would fall asleep on a road and just be fine the next day. Like, so it was a bit of a bit of a horror story for some lads, and for others it was grand. So yeah, that affected us a bit. We got up the next morning and went down. As soon as we got there, it was just a different atmosphere that we hadn't experienced before. There was so much energy. They've got a 4G pitch, which we've got a very, very big set of forwards. And 4G, I hate 4G pitches myself. So there's a few of us that weren't, buzzing about that. But yeah, they were really good, and they just had a lot of experienced players. I think they had three lads who were three brothers. I think that were one or two of them were playing in the RAF or something. Or no, yeah, it would have been RAF or Navy. That's it, Navy, because there's a naval base down there. I think it's down that way. Um, so yeah, so they just kind of caught us on the hop a bit. Really, we didn't react as quick as we would normally, and we tried to squeeze ourselves back into the game. Later on, we had some chances near the end to win it, and yeah, they just kept us up. Um, the noise was unbelievable. They had, speakers. They were screaming and shouting, like it was noisier there than it was the Twickenham the following year. Do you know what I mean? And like, so yeah, it was a great experience. We learned a lot from it. How to prepare for the big trips, how to prepare for the big games, not to allow the occasion kind of take over, and stay focused and stuff. So, and they were a really good set of lads. I think they went on to the final and they lost against Driffield, which there was a team that we play in our league. So at least the Yorkshire team won it in the end. It was
Yeah,
good.
absolutely. Okay, let's talk about those though. Let's talk about the following years when you went on to Twickenham and you did win it, because the Papa John's Cup is voluntary, isn't it, in terms of entering it? Not all clubs do. So you've obviously seen value in that. How has that worked out for you?
It's been amazing for us because there's a lot of history at our club. Like the club won the junior vase back in 2003, which was a huge thing for the club. So we've got a lot of there's a big draw, there's a big connection for us, at Twickenham. Um, and so yeah, we it was a great opportunity as well to play against other teams that we wouldn't normally have played against in the past, like Lim, Rosendale, Barnstable. Who else did we play? North, or what is it? Bridge North. Um, and yeah, it just allowed us as well to kind of showcase what we could do, and rugby in our area, in Yorkshire, and kind of get the names out a bit. Um, but yeah, the experiences were brilliant. I mean, we're quite lucky. We have a very passionate um, support group in the club. Like, our supporters are just, I mean, we don't have loads, but the ones that we have are just they're brilliant. So we got good sponsorship in for the trip. We got like the bus we got was just unbelievable. It was like everybody had their own TVs. We had a kitchen, a coffee machine, ever free, like things like that are just like amazing. We don't get it every week. So this time we drove down on the day. Rather than stopping over, we felt it wasn't actually beneficial. So we learned from that from the previous year going on to Avant. And we stopped off at the Lansbury Hotel in London, which was, I think, about half an hour away from Twickenham. So we stayed there for the few hours before the game, because we knew we wouldn't have much room to warm up on at Twickenham. and they have like a pitch that's better than Twickenham. It's like unbelievable. And that was really cool, except for the fact that we had black t-shirts on trying to go through a team run when it was like 30 degrees. That didn't help. So we were well warmed up before getting to Twickenham. And then we got the home change rooms as well, which was brilliant. So we were in the England change rooms. And that, like, every moment of this trip was just brilliant. It was so good. And then looking onto the pitch before we kind of got out there was a few other teams playing that day. We were the last team, and the way the pitch kind of angles up as you go out, these guys look like giants. You know what I mean? From where we were stood, the guys who were playing before us, and I was like, wow, is that what we're going to be up against today? But it is just the way the pitch kind of angles up. So yeah, it was a great, really good game. Really, competitive. It was back and forth. Um, we, yeah, we started well. Just kind of slacked off a bit in the middle, but they were brilliant. Like their team were really good. They were really well organised, electric. And then we just kind of composed ourselves enough at the end to get the last score, win it.
Amazing. So, listen, Chris, you've already mentioned the black t-shirts. You mentioned it was a hot day. I know full well that you're a prop forward, and the Twickenham pitch is quite large. How were you managing with all of that on a sort of a massive day for the club?
I was fine actually. I hydrated quite well, and the adrenaline, to be honest, kept me going. So and I got to have a little break in the middle as well, which is great. I got to have 20 minutes on sideline just as a bit of a break. Not everybody has had that luxury, but you got to look after us props, like, you know what I mean. And then managed to get. I got a try as well. I got a score, which I normally only get 5 or 6 a year, so I managed to get one on the big day, so that was class. Um, it didn't help that the commentators said the only reason why I got it was because I thought there was a buffet behind the try line. So, I mean, if there was, they probably would have scored a few more. But um, yeah, it was. I found it fine. Yeah, it was actually when I got to Twickenham again. The summer just gone with Yorkshire against Kent, and that was a much hotter day. So I managed to play at Twickenham again. That was atrocious. Like, that was even hotter. So in comparison to the day with Heath, it wasn't too bad really.
Yeah, happy days. Okay, that's the pre-game. You talked about the game. Now then, winning a cup at Twickenham. That must be a heck of an evening on the bus on the way home. Tell me a little bit, if you can, about some of that fun that you must have had.
Oh yeah, we had a great time. There's a pub down the road, not far. Trying to remember the name of it now. Um, oh, it's quite a popular place to go after Twickenham. But what I mean, obviously, being from living up here, um, everything's so close together. So like if you want to go to a pub or a nightclub or a bar, it's like 5, 10 minutes or a 20-minute taxi ride. So we went to this pub down the road from Twickenham initially, had a fair few there, and then we said, well, we'll move on to a club. Right, 50-minute taxi ride. I was like, what? So I'll be sober by the time I get there. So we just kind of hung about we actually hung about in a few local pubs, and then we went back to the hotel bar and just drank there and enjoyed it. But I think, to be honest with you, I think the lads were like the amount of adrenaline that was pumping through us, and like the length of the day and the time that we had to get up in the morning. I think most of the lads were just absolutely wrecked. It wasn't until we really got back to our club, the next day, that we really started going for it. I think we ran out of Guinness, and we probably injured half our team by doing running straight challenges and stuff on the pitch and all sorts of stuff. So there was some big impacts. Like, I mean, I would have liked to have seen them down at Twickenham, but they weren't full of Guinness, like, so they wouldn't have been exciting. But yeah, it was great. Like, and then we have a group of friends. Like, we go away together as well. Every year we try to have a trip away. So, we went to France not long after that. And that was good. We went to a place called Limoges on a bit of a trip. So that was good. So, yeah, we just kind of have our own little celebrations in between. But overall, yeah, I mean, we try not to talk about it too much. The season after, because we didn't want it to kind of impact our didn't want to be so arrogant, going into another league season. So once we'd kind of celebrated it, acknowledged it, we'd moved on pretty quick onto the next league season, which was last season, which we did okay. We came third, I think. So but it definitely, I think, winning something like that, certainly, because it elongates your season. You're jumping back into pre-season pretty quick after. Um, mentally, I think it drains you quite a lot. So we didn't have a good start to the next season after that. In our first 4 or 5 games, we'd lost 3 out of 4 or 3 out of 5. So, yeah, there's poses a slight downside to it in the sense that you're playing longer and you've got less of a rest before pre-season. So
Sounds amazing. And what I want to go into now, and I think you've described some of the reasons why you're being successful and the way that you're enjoying each other's company, the way that you seem to be sort of a band of brothers almost. Tell me a little bit more about the sort of structure at the club, because you're at a level now when some teams are getting paid and that kind of thing. How do you run it at Heath? What do you see as your strengths?
I think we're just lucky that we're all really good mates. That's the biggest strength, and we're all family. Like my 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 partner Alison, like her brother was captain at the club when I joined it, and her dad used to play at the club, and he's still there. And like there's a big connection there between everybody. All our kids are playing down there and now, and like anybody who comes in immediately is just part of it. There's no like what would you say, like mentality of, you know, first team, second team, everybody's just one big squad. We could all easily just come together and talk to each other on a one-to-one regardless, and open up to each other. And I just think it's like knowing that the guy next to you has got your back and wants the best for you, and going to work hard for you. It's just class, and I've been in different clubs where, that wasn't always the case. And you could feel it, and I think that's really cool because we are a bit of I would say, a club of misfits, we're all slightly alternative in our own ways. And it just works really well because we're just all accepting for anyone to join us at any level. You've got lads who are probably just getting into the game of rugby, but they immediately feel part of it. We have social events every month, really. Well, probably nearly every couple of weeks we do something. We've got Stars in Your Eyes, which we do every year. And then we pick 6 or 7 lads randomly um in the club to partake. And I think with Stars in Your Eyes you can do it a few times, and then we've got another one which is coming up really soon. It's called Miss Heavenly Bodies, where we have you get 6 or 7 lads as well, picked from any of the. You can get older boys involved as well, and it's like a Miss World competition. So you have like your bikini round, your formal wear round. You got to stand up in front of the crowd and answer questions. But prior to that, you probably. I think you need to blow a certain level of alcohol and before you can go upstairs and answer. Like it's really funny. It's nothing dangerous, but I have a bit of a laugh. But it's fantastic, and we do that every 2 years. I won it in 2012, which is one of my greatest achievements. Like Twickenham, you got Miss Heavenly Bodies, Twickenham, yeah, that birth of my child now. But yeah, it's class. So you can only do it once. You're only allowed to ever do it once, and my partner's dad and brother, I think they were previous champions as well. So we're keeping it in the family. So that's coming up in the next month, and yeah, we just look forward to it because it just brings the whole club together. So we do all those kind of things. We've got an end of year trip planned for the whole club. So we're gonna we build up a bit of a kitty after our games, so we find each other. So you're saying there about lads getting paid in our league, and above and below. We actually fine each other after every game. So we have a list of fines. Normally it reaches about between 15 and 20 quid. So it could be, wrong stash, bad haircut, you didn't play very well, or you said something stupid, or you've upset someone, or anything. It could just be anything. And that builds up pretty fast. So between the two teams, like we'll be up into the thousands, I'd say, this year, which we'll then use to put towards this big trip that we're organising. So yeah, like things like that. It's just the rugby. The rugby is important, and we are obviously so focused on that. I mean, our coaches are really strong. Like we've got Dave Harrison, we've got Tom Andrews, we've got Josh Trickmay and Chris Johnston. They're all really experienced players as well as coaches, and they just bring a level of professionalism that you wouldn't normally see in an amateur club. And what they demand from us is just such a high level of consistency and kind of reflection on our game. So, that combined with a fantastic social, schedule, and, the kind of that family vibe at the club just makes it, successful. Without having to put your hand in your pocket and say, right, we need to buy in someone to play a position, or we just develop and learn and improve together. Like, I came in 2010, so I've certainly improved over the last 15 years. If I didn't improve, there'd be something wrong. And there's a few lads like that as well. We just grown together. And we got to a playoff against West Hartlepool when we were in Yorkshire 1. That that was a good learning event as well. That we nearly got a promotion that year too, but to me that sticks in my mind as the biggest learning event for us as a core group of lads, because a lot of us were still there together who went through that. So yeah, we've just had loads of good experiences that we've grown from, on and off the pitch, really.
Chris, it sounds absolutely amazing, but I just want to pick up on something. You started off that by saying we're lucky. We're lucky we're good mates. I don't think there's any luck involved in it at all. I think you've got a group of people there, put the time and the effort and the care and the amount of things you've just listed there that generate togetherness and club camaraderie was amazing, absolutely amazing. So I don't think there's any about it. I think you deserve what you've got.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of hard work that goes in. It's not. I wouldn't say it's hard work. I think it's just effort into it. But I suppose the way we see it is like it is. We are a family, like, so you do anything for your family. So it's easy.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about you, the player, then, Chris. Tell me about how you first got into the game. Where was your starting point?
In my hometown of Cobh in Ireland, in Cork. I just watched. I think I was watching Ireland play the All Blacks on telly, and I said to my dad, "Do they have a chance of winning?" And he said, "No, not a chance." But they did all right. And the person that stood out to me the most was, I mean, this is the first game final I watched him, and it was Keith Wood. Was captain for Ireland at the time he was playing, and he was just unbelievable. It was unbelievable. Like, they were losing, but the guy never stopped, and like the way he played and the passion and the energy, and I was like, wow, I need to get into this game. Like, this looks amazing. So yeah, I went up to my local club, Cobh Pirates, and they didn't actually have a team for my age at that time. So I had to move up to the year above. And I didn't have a clue what I was doing. So it was a good year to learn, because the expectation is that I wouldn't be able to play very well anyway. And I learned quite a lot. I do remember even now just being stood in the middle of the pitch during a game, my first game, going, "What am I doing here? Like, what am I supposed to do?" And they were just shouting at me like, "Just tackle a guy." And I went up and I tackled someone, and like everybody was like screaming. And I was like, "Oh, that's class!" You know what I mean? It was just the feeling of it, like, it was just brilliant. So that was it. I was hooked. Even at that age, I think I was like 10, 11 years old. trying to perfect my game. I was trying to get extra coaching off people and just to be better. And then luckily the year after they set up a team, um, my own age team. So I managed to drop into that, which was brilliant because I'd spent a year with the older group and I'd learned so much. And I found it quite good then. I found it comfortable in my own age group and got some really good coaches that amazingly, one of them, Kevin O'Keefe, Owen Chandler, they're still there at the club. Kevin O'Keefe in particular, he's still there coaching. I went back, I go back sometimes and, still there in the club, bringing through the youth. And there's some top players that are still coming from that club. Um, and so, yeah, they're doing a great job. So I moved, I went to a school called Christian Brothers College in Cork from probably 14 to when I left school at like 17, 18. And that was a brilliant experience from a rugby point of view and educational. But from a rugby point of view, it was fantastic. I was around some really, good players, unreal coaches again. One guy who I played with, John Ryan, who plays for Munster in Ireland, and he was sat next to me in class and such a lovely guy. And I made some really good mates and learned learned a lot of good stuff at that school. And we got to go to Japan in like a schoolboy competition called Sanex World Cup. So that was brilliant. We spent like a couple of weeks over there. So if I hadn't have been in that school, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. So definitely was worth it.
What was it like playing in Japan?
Oh, unreal. I mean, like, it's weird because I look back on this experience and like I don't think I absorbed it as much as I should have done. You know what I mean? In terms of the appreciation of it, like, but um, it was it was unreal. Like we played against lads from Australia, New Zealand. The English team over there. The Japanese were the team that surprised me the most, really, because I think this was like when rugby was really starting to take off, and they were putting a lot of money into it and resources. And the Japanese lads were just so passionate. They were, we played against them in one of our group stages and they scored like 2 tries against us pretty early in the game. Because they were just so well organized. They did their 2 lineouts in the corner, and they just went bang, straight down, boom, 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 over the line, try, kick off, we gave away a penalty, they kicked it corner, line out, maul, and it was like 3, 2, 1, joof. You know what I mean? So it was like, we were like, what? Oh my God. Like, so we had to really, we had to be quite physical against them to try and, wear them down. And they couldn't really live with the physicality. And then there was a lot of off the cuff kind of skills, crossfield kicks, chips over the top, which broke their defence down because their defence was just unbelievable. Like it was, they were just up together. They all had to wear scrum caps. I don't know if it still is, but it was compulsory for players, junior players in Japan to wear scrum caps at that time anyway. So you didn't know what was coming. Like it was just these crazy guys with scrum caps just bashing you. So that was class, yeah. And then we played against, well, the next game was the polar opposite. We played against Tongan team. And I mean, I went over to some of their players before the game thinking they were the coaches. And I was like, oh, where's your team? Like, you're the coaches, aren't you? And they were like, no, we're the players. Oh my God. They were just massive. I'd never seen anything like it. I was like, oh, wow, this is going to be terrible. I think I got knocked out in that game as well. I was like, oh, it was like running into a wall. And then we played against a French team that they were good. We beat them. They were very upset about it. But, and then, yeah, we got to watch, we didn't make it through the group stages. We watched, I think it was no, it would have been, yeah, New Zealand and Australia in the final, which was the level of rugby was unreal. Um, no, I hadn't seen rugby at that kind of speed and pace before, so that was really a good experience from a rugby point of view. And then we went into Nagasaki on a trip between the training and the games. Went to a few of the museums, for the atomic bomb. And just the people and the culture are just so polite, so respectful. Um, and the food was really nice as well. Um, so yeah, so it was just class. I mean, the only problem is they they thought with the canteen of where the facility where we were all staying, it was called the Global Arena. It's really cool complex, and they had this big cafeteria where the different teams would come at different times for their meals. Um, and they must have assumed that all Westerners eat chips for breakfast and chips for lunch and chips for tea. And then so there was some props like in our team that were massive, like, and they lost so much weight during the trip. Like they're just picking chips like at the end of it. And yeah, so yeah, it was just brilliant. I mean, I actually, with smartphones weren't a thing at that stage. So if I'd had a smartphone back then, I would have documented quite a lot of this. I think I had a disposable camera, which I don't think I ever even got developed. So there's probably a home somewhere ruined. So I'd have had 1,000 photos if we had smartphones back then. But
It sounds like an unbelievable experience. What a great thing to be able to do as a young man. Now, what I want to talk about now is the front row stuff. Chris, were you always a prop? Were you always a prop and carried on, or did you slide in there later in your career?
yeah, no, I wasn't. I played 6 and 7, number 8 for a little bit as well. When I left school, I went and played for a team called Dolphin, which is like AIL 2 or I think at the time. And I was playing back row, and they just said, "Look, we think you should go and learn how to play a prop." So I said, "That's fine." And they said, "Well," I said, "what I'll do is I'll go back to my local club, Cobh." Because I was kind of, I wouldn't say I was falling out of love with game at the time, but there were certain things that were not allowing me to commit to it as much as I needed to play at a decent level. So I kind of just dropped back down to Cobh, which was brilliant because I got back playing with mates. When I was playing at school, I couldn't play with my club, so I'd had a few years away from Cobh, which was tough. So when I got back there, back playing with mates, I had some luckily, we had some really good front row coaches. And at the time, the calls of the scrum were, I think it was crouch touch engaged. There was no bind. It was just straight in, that was it was a baptism of fire, learning how to scrum because they were like just aim for the ankles. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, sounds. So I'm like straight in. I think I dislocated my ankle when I did it. I was like, oh god. And then yeah, it was just I just fell in love with the position really because it's like a game within a game, and you can really you can practice your skills, you can develop it, more and more every year, and there's so much to learn from it, and it's like the game. You, I suppose I wouldn't say like their props are valuable, but I think they are. But at the time, I didn't really, when I was first starting to learn how to play prop, I guess I didn't really understand how much it was going to shape and shape my future in the game and moving forward. I kind of wish I'd started it a bit earlier because I really enjoyed it, and I think you have to enjoy it to play that position.
Absolutely. I actually did the same transition. I used to be a back rower as well, and it was basically end of Colts rugby into senior rugby. I transitioned into the front as well, and it was tough really tough at the start, isn't it? So tough, but I grew to love it as.
Yeah, it's the pressure. It's the pressure and the fact that you're not allowed to breathe for a little bit. Whoever takes the first breath is going to lose, and it's like, what is this like? And you get up in your head spinning, and you're out half shouting at you. get into shape, and you're like, where's the shape? Where is it? I don't know where I am. You know what I mean? And you're like, until you start getting bigger and stronger, it's just pressure into it, and it's like getting sent backwards at a rate of knots against some 35-year-old who's made of timber in a barrel, and you've got nowhere to go but backwards. It's like it's hard work. So yeah, I tend to if I'm quite dominant now against a young prop, I'll if we're winning the game comfortably, I'll take the foot off the gas a little bit, and you know what I mean, just give him a bit of lesson, like.
That's very kind of you. Very kind. Now, have you got any like notable opponents that you remember playing against where you're like, oh my God, that was a really tough day at the office?
Yeah, it's funny because the hooker and one of the props that I play with now, we've played together for like probably nearly 15, 14, 15 years, like, roughly between that. And we had a game probably maybe 8 years ago against a team called Weekly Hills, and they had a pack comprised of props. The whole pack was just props, and it was like we were just going back all day, and it was muddy and rainy and wet, and we couldn't breathe. Like, we were just under pressure in the scrum, and we needed to win this game for us to get into the playoff of the league. So, as a front row, like, that's like, you're the one responsible to make this happen. So we dug deep, and even now, like, we'll say, like, we know how other teams feel now against us, because we're quite dominant in the scrum most of the time. So we came away from that game like, just, we were shaking, we no energy left, but we managed to. The last scrum of the game, we were getting pushed back, penalty, penalty. They kept resetting scrum. And then final play of the game, they were like guaranteed to score and beat us. And we managed to push them off the ball, and we stole the ball in the scrum, and we cleared our lines. So that was like a turning point for us. We were like, we've weathered that storm, and we've managed to, last scrum of the game, get him off the ball, and we actually got a penalty from that. We managed to push him back and back up in the air. So, yeah, that was the hardest day I've ever experienced. But yeah, apart from that, I can't really. Yeah, I mean, with Yorkshire this year, playing with Yorkshire during the summer, that was a good experience, and I got a lot of good coaching from a gentleman called Lewis Seeds. I think he plays up at Doncaster Knights now. He came into the kind of coaching setup, and identified a lot of areas of improvement in terms of my technique. So that was just summer gone. So even this year, when I transitioned to loosehead, I was tight head up until 2 years ago. I transitioned to loosehead, and then I didn't want to. It's just that we got a big prop from Darlington Morden Park come in, so I got shifted across to loosehead and had to relearn. And I don't think people really fully appreciate the difficulty of doing that when your entire body is just zoned in on one side. So that was good, but my technique was terrible. I was just trying to push people as hard as I could. When I went into the Yorkshire set up there for those weeks, that had Lewis Teed teaching me basically how to play loosehead, and yeah, it was great. But the first couple of games we had, it was difficult, and I progressed up until playing Kent, and I felt like I did quite well against a good prop in that game. So it's definitely helped me develop into perfecting the loosehead side. But our tight head has got injured now, so I'm back over to the tight head for the rest of the season. So I've had to reconfigure the brain back into tight head mode. I think I've put about 6 kg on in the last 3 weeks, just because I feel like it helps when you're a bit heavier at tight head. So weighing in at 123 now kg, and I think I'm ready for tight head for the rest of the season. So.
Nice. Sounds amazing. Now, you've obviously talked about Yorkshire a little bit there in terms of getting that extra level of coaching specifically for you, but talk about it more broadly now. What else do you get out of playing for Yorkshire? How does it make you feel?
Well, I I felt quite lucky, and I know I'll say that word quite a lot, but I think right place, right time. Um, and getting selected for that was I had a very good season last season, like really good, like, and a lot of it is down to the coaches that we have. So as much as I had a good season, it was because of their input, um, and the energy that they put into me, and a lot of honest feedback, which I've gotten a lot better at receiving, and receiving that helps you develop. So I'm now pretty good at it. And yeah, so when I got selected, I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, is this a prank phone call? And then yeah, it was a real honor, and so as soon as I turned up to the camp, I think we started over at Doncaster Knights initially, and then later on moved over to Sandal Rugby Club. Um, so yeah, getting there, and a lot of the players from the National Two, National One level. Um, I thought it was a big squad initially, so there was a lot of other props there that were playing at a higher level for a lot longer, um, and probably were better technically than me. Um, and then being able to go into the squad for the first game against who did we play first? Down a team from down south. I can't remember, but that's old age getting to. And then we played. So I managed to play in that first game, and I played quite well. Scrummaging wasn't great. I think I got away with it at the loose head side, but then that's when I had that input from Lewis for the next game against Lancashire. I came on pretty early in that game. One of the other loose heads got yellow carded, so I got put straight into the scrum on our own line. They got a penalty. They went for the scrum straight away. I'm like, brilliant. Here we go. Let's see how we get on. I managed to put enough pressure on with average technique. I managed to hold them out. And but a lot of that is just the energy that I brought to it. Really, I felt like I wasn't going to get pushed back here, regardless. I don't care. I'll put myself in a bad position. You're not going to push me back. So that's the mindset I had. And then yeah, the playing against Lancashire over at Fylde. I'd never been on that pitch before. There was obviously a lot of lads that had been there before, so maybe not as much of a big deal for them, but it was brilliant for me, and I felt really honoured to be part of it, and just getting to know the lads that as well. Like I made some really good friends in that squad. Like really good guys, who are really experienced. Some have played a really good level of rugby, professional rugby as well, and like yeah, they were all just really helpful in terms of guiding me and make sure I was ready for the games and stuff. And we we just had a great time as well. It was brilliant. And then obviously we got down to Twickenham against Kent, and it was a slightly different experience to the one I had with Heath. We drove down on the day the same, but we didn't go anywhere else to warm up. We warmed up on that small patch of grass just out by the car park. It was a lot hotter. Like it was ridiculous. And I'm not great in the heat. I like cold, wet, rainy weather. Like I'm in my element. When everybody else is in pain, I'm comfortable. Whereas with the heat, I'm about to just pass out. So I felt it was really difficult that game. Got on about half time, and yeah, I was okay. I didn't perform so well, but we just about lost that game. But the experience, I think England had played France that just before us, so we followed them. So the crowd was certainly a lot bigger this time, which was another little thing that was a good learning experience as well. And yeah, it was just great to be around all the lads and the environment, and Some really good characters as well, who were good lads, and yeah, we had a good night out as well after that. I pretty much got heat stroke straight after the game, and then a lad who I was rooming with, he got heat stroke really bad, but delayed. So when I went back to the room, I walked into the room and all I could see was his body hanging down, and then there was a bit of a ceiling where I couldn't see his head. I just saw his legs and his body. I'm thinking, oh my God, I know he lost, but and anyway, it was just because he was stood in front of air conditioning with his face, because he was suffering. So I had to go get him some ice and some water bottles and everything. So it wasn't just me that was suffering anyway, but I think the front row found it hard that day. But yeah, it was just a great, like again, it was just a brilliant experience. I got a nice bit of sash as well, which is always good. I love that. And just to have the shirt up in the clubhouse as well, it's like I was captain for a couple of years. When we had the two promotions, I was lucky enough to be captain at that stage and to get my name on the captaincy board at the club, and then to have my shirt up in the club. I haven't actually put it up yet. It's in my wardrobe in like a box, but I need to get around to it. But yeah, to know that it'll be there and that my family and my kids will see it, and you know, it's nice.
Yeah, Chris, that sounds amazing. That sounds really like you've had a fantastic experience there, and hopefully you'll get more of those as well in the future. Let's move on though. Talk about rugby in the Calder Valley more generally. I know you've got an interesting little dynamic there with the clubs.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Because where I'm from in Cobh, there's one club in the town, and every play. If you say rugby, you, they know it's rugby union. So I play rugby, and everybody is rugby union. There's no such thing as rugby league where I'm from, and there's one town, there's one club in that town. So I play rugby. Oh, you play for Pirates? Yeah, I'm a Pirate. Brilliant. Whereas in the Calder Valley or Halifax area, there's like six rugby union teams. So you've got Halifax Vandals, Rishworthians, or Crossleyans, or Broadleans. You've got Heath, and then just over the hill, you've got Huddersfield Rugby Union and Huddersfield YMCA, and then you've got Cleckheaton Rugby Club about 5 minutes down the road. So there's probably another 25, 30 rugby league clubs in one small area. So there's so many rugby players, but there's so many rugby clubs. Um, and they are at different levels. I mean, we're quite lucky at this stage to be at the higher level of the clubs. It wasn't always the case. For a while there, even when I came over in 2010, we were like just below all Crossleyans and all Broadleans, and they were the kind of senior clubs, and they were always kind of asking you to go play there and represent them, but we managed to hold out. And then like from a from a rugby town, like there's rugby everywhere, and the rugby league dynamic there as well, like where there's a draw for players at certain times of the year, and that's more at junior level, but at senior level there's still that kind of overlap. There's lads that will play both; they'll prefer one or the other. I've played both. I've played league and union. I actually quite enjoy the league. It's for as a prop, it's much more comfortable to play. Having to drum is great. Like I can breathe after getting out of the scrum. So that's pretty cool. And it's a great game. Like I never played it before, so it was brilliant. So I made some good friends playing that game too. So I think like the link between the two games is really positive. It's only when there's the crossover between the start times and the finish times of the leagues, which tends to change year by year. Um, and then you've got Winter Rugby League as well. There's some clubs have Winter Rugby League teams. So there's just so much rugby, and it's really competitive as well. There's really playing at a good level. I think Halifax Rugby Club used to be I think before it turned professional, or when it did actually. I think they were like they're like the second tier rugby of England. They were quite high up there, and then there was just some like changes in the club, financial changes, which had a big impact on them, and they went down. I think a similar thing happened to Manchester Rugby Club as well, I think, around about the same time. And some clubs just disappeared. So, but they're now the kind of lower tier club in the area, but they're starting to push up as well. They've got a couple of promotions in the last few years. So every club is very competitive and very successful in my eyes.
So is it, do you sometimes struggle for players because there's so many clubs in such a small area, or does it all sort of balance itself out?
I think some clubs, it depends on the time. So like Heath, like when I came over in 2010, we had a fairly consistent pool of players for a couple of years. We then struggled for like 4 or 5 years to get a team on a Saturday. We didn't have a second team. I mean, I remember training four lads. If we got six, we'd do three aside TMP. That's where we're at, you know what I mean? And it was like we just had to stick at it. But um, there's clubs probably in that position now that weren't previously. But I think every club has its own uh, history and has its own kind of, um, like what would you say, like dynamic, where there's like there's a big group of people that are they'll just stay there, they'll back it up, they'll just and I think they're all, like I said, successful in their own way. I mean, some of the clubs have really good junior sections, like Old Broadlands, Crossley's or Rishworthians. Their junior sections are just really, really. They put a lot of time and effort into that. And then clubs like we've kind of just got. I mean, we've had it. We haven't had it over the last 20 years. We tend to get like a few teams together, kind of going through the age groups. Like at the moment, we've got 15s, 14s, and 16s, and they've kind of stayed together through when they were younger. But we've got not got much in the middle, and then we've got a sevens and eights starting up now with my son in there, and like there's always been a fairly big gap between, which I think that has a big impact on clubs when they haven't got that coming through. Um, so we've managed to weather that. Other clubs, they're probably going through a transitional period as well. But we do try and support each other as much as we can as clubs. Um, you'll see players playing for one club and moving to another, and coaches moving about. So there is that competition for players, which is healthy. And there's always a good opportunity, I think, for young lads to enter the senior rugby at different levels based on their abilities and their confidence levels. And you could easily, as you get better, move to different clubs than just go up the leagues. And it's only a 5-10 minute drive down the road from your house.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a big difference. Now then, talking about bringing young players through, are you still currently junior chairman?
Yeah, I am. Yeah,
Tell me about that role and how you see it.
yeah. I think it's when I started it, like I think this is my third year or second. Yeah, I think it's been about 3 years. We had a bit of a blip in the middle where um, we had some teams that were, well, not to say they folded, but some of the junior teams we had, there was just a bit of a difficult period that they went through, which um, we managed to sort that out, and I think just to take the pressure off the 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 coaches and the chairman at the junior chairman at the time, I just said, look, I'll come in and I'll help out. And I think that did help a lot, because when you've got um when you've been doing it for so long, and I'm kind of experiencing that a bit now, it's a lot of energy, and I think it takes a lot away from you in terms, time and effort, and like I think it's good to be able to kind of share the role, same as being a captain. Like I think a captaincy role, you should be able to kind of transition that within a group of people, and without it having an impact on the actual setup. So like with the junior chairman, that kind of role, I think it's good for people to come in every few years with a fresh approach and like energy and ideas, And then for I'm lucky, the previous junior chairman, Wiggy, like I played with him when I came here in 2010. I've got a good relationship with him, and he's still there coaching. So he's like such a good advisor to me, and he gives me such good support and knowledge. And I obviously support all the coaches, and I coach a couple of the teams myself as well. We've managed to kind of grow the coaching setup. We've got like two or three coaches per team now, whereas in Italy we didn't, like it was quite stressful initially.
How did you do that, Chris? How did you grow the coaching group?
Um, look, there's like again, just getting lucky with lads who are probably just near the end of their career, lads who just come down and support, and just by kind of connecting with people and talking to people. And I probably people got a bit bored of me, I'd say, after in that first couple of years, because all I was talking about was like the Heath, whether it's my rugby or the junior rugby or what we're doing and how we're getting on and what players we're getting. And like it was like I was like a broken record. Like, but I guess if you're constantly talking about it, and if you're constantly advertising it, and kind of if you can show passion towards something, somebody's going to pick it up somewhere, and they're going to go, oh, do you know what? I want to get involved in that. And then like I did a lot of work in the schools, so I went into loads of local schools during the summers. And on a Friday, I wasn't working on a Friday in my job, so I managed to go into a local school every Friday and do like an hour's coaching, just to try and grow the game as a whole. And like there was lads in those classes that played at different clubs, and some lads that didn't play in any clubs. They were the guys I was kind of saying, well, look, come down to Heath. And we managed to get a lot of players, and we even got a couple of coaches from those efforts. And that's still going. Like a lad came down to our under 14s last week who I coached last year at the school, and he came down and he said, look, I've been wanting to come down for a while. Can I get cracked on? And he's loving it. So yeah, it's just constantly just spreading it out there, advertising, talking to everybody. And I think eventually you just, because if you exist and you're consistent enough, it'll come to you as well. You know what I mean? It's like, um, people just want to make sure that you're actually going to be a positive thing for their kids as well. In terms of how they're being coached, and the level they're being coached at. So, like I'm just regurgitating what I get coached myself and what I've been coached since playing the game. So I know it works, so I'll just repeat it.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Chris, it sounds like you're doing some wonderful things there. And it's just, honestly, I think it's quite a simple message, isn't it? Just keep putting the effort in, just keep caring, just keep putting a good foot forward. And as you say, then good things will happen.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, and there's times like, and if for anyone or any club that are struggling, um, and it can sometimes be quite, it can be a little bit like lonely, and it can impact you. So I would always just say, like, just talk to people about it. Talk, talk to people from other clubs, or talk to people who've done that role before, or because you the more you speak to people, the more ideas you get, and the more knowledge you get, and the more connections that you make, and it just makes it easier. And then just work hard, just be positive. I mean, at one stage, I was people, and I was like, right, this is what we've got. We've got a team, under 14s team, and we've got, we're really wanting to push hard, and I'd love to have you down at the club. And I think we had like 4 or 5 players, but I was like, it's not about, I wouldn't say it's about selling the dream, but it's about showing them, look, this is what we want to achieve, and this is what I believe we can do. And then, like, and as well as just looking after kids, making sure that they feel like you care, being able to give them individual kind of individual plans in terms of their development and where they want to be or how they want to achieve, and also making sure that, like, they're doing well at school, and they've got the right attitude towards their learning. And I think we've got like a few lads who are, I mean, every club will have them. There's lads that you look at and you think, they could go quite far with the game, and it could actually be really beneficial for them if they can get there at a professional level. And a lot of some of them are being held back by their, it might be just because they don't like being at school. But unfortunately, particularly with rugby union, if you can get good education and you have some good results in the GCSEs and your A levels, it can open up a lot of pathways for you in terms of going down that professional route. So it's just about being able to support them with that as well in that aspect. So we've got, I'll sometimes I'll do their homework with them. We'll do a couple of players will come on the bus to away games with the senior team, and I'll sit down and we'll do some maths revision and physics and just anything we can to help them. You know what I mean? That's kind of the goal, really.
It sounds absolutely amazing what you're doing there. Unbelievable. Really good stuff. We're going to bring that part of the show to a close now, though, Chris, and we're going to go on to the Rugger Law Boar section. Now, this is something that I did in the initial episodes of the podcast way back in 2019, 2020, and it's had a pause for quite some time, but back by popular demand, lots of people have been asking for it. So this is just a bit of fun. As I always say, like, nobody knows all of the laws. Absolutely not. Not even the referees. So with that, Chris, it's time to find out if you are a Rugger Law Boar. So before we start, what do you reckon? How are you rating your law knowledge?
I know. I mean, I referee some games and stuff when I've been playing it a long time, but like, I don't know. I'm probably going to struggle, to be honest.
Well, I have actually selected a question that should be in your favour because it's about scrummaging. So we'll go with it. Okay, so there's a few options here. So we'll go through all the options and then we can answer them afterwards. So the question is, which of these is a free kick at a scrum? So the options are driving too early, removing the break foot before set is called, driving in at an angle, collapsing a scrum.
Ian, driving too early.
Driving too early is, yes. Are any of the others as well?
As in out of all of them?
Yeah, any of those. No.
So the middle, so I would say the third one and the first one are free kicks.
Right, so driving too early is a free kick. That's correct. Yeah. You also said driving in at an angle.
Oh, no, sorry. Removing the brake foot, I think.
Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, you've nailed it. That's it. Those are the two.
Yeah, the other two are penalties.
Correct.
Yeah, all of I do the same. I do all of them.
But, what that means, though, Christopher Moore, you are a Rugger Law Boar.
Fantastic. If I'd have got them wrong, I'd have been in serious trouble, I think.
Congratulations. Okay, let's move on to the stash section. So we've already talked a little bit about stash, but what is your favourite kit of all time? So this can be any team from any era, anything at all.
Well, it's a Heath kit. We had an all black Heath kit a few years ago, which was our away kit, and it was just brilliant. Like, I mean, everybody looks good in it. It was just intimidating and easy to wash. But it was, we've had a lot of requests for that to come back. So, including now this year, we've had a lot of people pushing for that to be one of our kits for next year. So we might see it back next year in a slightly different style. But yeah, the all black kit is just brilliant.
Yeah, all black is a winner. There's no question about that. Now then, next one. What about awful kit? Are there any kits out there that you particularly dislike?
Yeah, it has to be is it Stade Francais?
Oh yeah, okay.
The flower pots and
the flowery one.
Yeah, I just like. I mean, I think if you're going to play with some real kind of passion and anger, and you're going out with like daffodils on your top, it's not really going to. I don't think it inspires that kind of that level of aggression, does it?
Not really. No. Okay, last one, and this is a bit of kit that you've received or you've traded with somebody. What's your favourite stash that you've ever received?
Well, I got quite a lot of stuff. I mean, I've got a couple of mates that played for Munster, so I got a few bits from them. Um, got a mate who played up at Newcastle Falcons and Wasps, and got a few bits. And but one that stands out to me when I was like probably like 13, 14. My uncle who'd played a lot of rugby as well over in Ireland, he got given like a Sam Owen rugby top. And he gave it to me as well as a Bective rugby top, which is one of the clubs up near Dublin, Kildare. And those two, yeah, they were just, I might just think they were like the first kind of uh, top rugby jersey that I ever had that wasn't the Cobh Pirates or the Munster one. And I just loved them. I just thought they were brilliant. And the Bective jersey had the old triangle number on on the back, kind of like the old Harlequins ones, or Leicester Tigers. That was it. Leicester Tigers had it, didn't they? With the triangle and then the number, and it was like boxed colours and stuff. So yeah, two of them really. I used to wear them all the time until they disintegrated. Like so, yeah, they were just the ones that stand out to me the most. But to be fair, like the kit that we get now. Is just fast, you know what I mean? We get like really good flash every year. And like I'm just Mr. Heath. I wear Heath everything. I'm just always wearing Heath flash because I've probably got about 40 or 50 bits of Heath flash now at this stage. Like I've even tried to give some away, like it's just can't get rid of it.
Yeah, it's a constant advertising board for Heath.
Yeah, just Heath. Yeah.
Good stuff, mate. Okay, we're going to bring this to a close now. It's been a pleasure talking to you. But is there anything else you want to say? Any sort of closing thoughts or anything like that?
No, I just think like rugby, rugby union. I think we just need to, as a whole, I think everybody just needs to kind of work hard to keep the game going, and regardless of what's happening in the professional game, and in terms of financial side of things, just make your club your own home and just grow it, and eventually you'll reap the rewards and you'll have success.
Absolutely. That's such a great message. Now, if people do want to get a hold of you, because you mentioned there about, talking to people who are doing the same job, and it sounds like you're doing a fantastic thing there and you've got a great thing going at Heath. If people want to pick your brains about some of the things that you've done, what's the best way that people can get a hold of you?
They can just drop me an email.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, we will make sure that that's linked in the show notes below, everybody that's listening. And that means, and you can find all of that at amateurrugbypodcast.com. So, Chris, it just leaves me to say once more, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. Thanks for great talking to you. Have a lovely day.
Cheers, man. You too. Okay, there he goes. Well, that was a lot of fun, wasn't it? So many great stories there from on the pitch, from off the pitch, but also just how to run a club in today's world. Like it's not that difficult. You've just got to put the time and the effort in. You've just got to care. You've just got to gather people around and take people with you. And it sounds like Chris and Heath are doing a fantastic job of that. So well done. Now, also, it's coming up to Six Nations time right now, and that means that the YouTube channel is about to go flying. There's loads of stuff going on over there. I'm doing match reports, match previews, team selection reviews, all of that kind of stuff. So get on over to the YouTube channel and hit subscribe. But if you've enjoyed this podcast, you can do all the social media stuff. You can like, challenge, all the bits and pieces. You know the stuff. But what I'd really like is if you mention it to someone in person the next time you're down your local rugby club. But until then, get out and play.